Okay, we are in Siman Reish Nun, and last time we finished our quest through the Shalos Chuvas Nishma Shabbos, Rav Harfen's Chuvas, and now we're going to begin the Otzer Halachos, see if he has any additional points on our Siman in Reish Nun over here. So I went through and highlighted what I thought was important. Rabbi Avram Tzvi Friedman on the Siman. So he says over here regarding the mitzvah of To'ameha, of tasting from every single dish. He says, this idea, this concept of tasting from every single dish on Erev Shabbos, that doesn't apply if you're tasting something that's not going to be eaten on Shabbos. He discusses over here in footnote Chav Beis the reason why we typically don't sharpen our knives. And he says that we basically have a designated knife for cutting on Shabbos, and therefore its sharpness remains. The sharpness of the knife remains, and therefore you don't need to sharpen every single week. Basically what he says. I think that's better for the lighting. So that's what he comes along and he says over there. Over here in Os Yud, he says that regarding preparing the house for Shabbos. Oh, now the lighting's crazy. There we go. Much better. Okay, much better. Okay. Regarding it's actually brought down to learn by a place where there's windows. But anyways, talking about if you have a safer, probably. Other explanations why, but okay, so he talks about over here in Oz Yud, he says min ha'ra'ui, that it's fitting to sleep on Erev Shabbos, to take a nap before Shabbos, in honor of Shabbos, in order that a person will have a clear mind for Shabbos. This is something which is incredibly important and typically not done. And the idea is that everyone thinks that they're just going to sleep a lot on Shabbos so that they'll have more energy for the week, or they're sleeping because they're so tired from the week. But it's really on the contrary over here. It's really on the contrary, meaning that one should go into Shabbos well rested in order that he'll be able to utilize the spirituality of Shabbos properly. It's an important point. A footnote over here, he quotes from the Munkacher Rebbe, Shem Rebbe Mimizuch, talks about the importance of sleeping on Shabbos. And he held that taking this nap on Erev Shabbos is so important that he wonders why it's not in the Ten Commandments or why it's not in the Chumash itself.
Wow.
Yep, that's right. And another Rebbe was very stringent on this type of sleep. And if he didn't have time to get a full nap, he would just sleep at least just a little bit, just a few minutes. By the way, I've done those before. Those few-minute naps when you're exhausted, they actually do something.
Wait, we're talking about, when are we talking about? Shabbos afternoon?
No, we're talking about before Shabbos. You're taking it before Shabbos. You could go into Shabbos and you could sing the Zmiros properly, and you could say over Divrei Torah, you could learn properly on Shabbos, etc.
We definitely touched upon this earlier.
We definitely did. That's correct. Definitely did.
But not soon these things. Wow.
Yeah, we saw it in the Shalos Chuvas Minchas Chain. That's where we saw it. It might have even not been on the Siman. It might have been on another Siman.
I think it was, yeah.
He says something over here, which is I was debating whether we should even bring this up, but I just want to bring up that it's a whole discussion. He's lenient. He says if a married woman, has her mikvah night on Motzei Shabbos, so she's allowed to eat meat. It's actually a whole discussion. If a woman's mikvah is on Shabbos night, when to go to the mikvah and how to do that. But anyways, that's Hilchos Nida Shaila. And then just the last point to point out is that a person can't pain himself on Shabbos and refrain from eating Shabbos food. because of oh, here it is. Machmas shmiras mishkalo, because of a diet. This is actually a tremendously applicable, incredibly applicable halacha. He basically says no diets on Shabbos. Kimoneu mevatlas ha'oneg Shabbos. You are preventing oneg Shabbos. Imlo, unless shalidei achilaso yazik es briyaso, unless by eating you're going to damage your health. Or if a doctor commanded you to diet. In other words, it's a difference between a diet. Someone who's already pretty skinny, but they just want to get even slimmer, to look very, very skinny. So if that person is really altering his eating habits on Shabbos, could be halachically questionable. Versus if a person has something, let's say diabetes or something, or another type of sickness where the doctor told him you cannot eat on Shabbos. So you excuse me, where the doctor told him you can never eat X amount. You have to stick to the strict diet. So then you would have to keep it. This I think is open for more discussion. He quotes the Shiles Teshuvas Or Letzion on this. I didn't look this up. Actually, did I? Or Letzion. Oh, there it is. I might have actually looked this up because I was curious about it. Yep. I knew it was somewhere. I thought it was in Rav Harfness's Chuvas. Remember when we were learning Rav Harfness's Chuvas and like diets we're gonna come to? And it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw this somewhere. When was this made? Curious view. Details. It must have been a while ago. 1/15. Yep. 20 days ago. I did this. 7:41 p.m. Must have done it in North Woodmere. Yep, that's where I am, North Woodmere then. Yeah. Last night and tonight are the only nights I haven't been there in months. Months.
Last thing.
There every single night.
You have been in Woodmere. Wait, you have been in North Woodmere.
Yeah. Last
Yeah,
night because
I was
it's
talking
a
that
vacation
go.
for the yeshivas. Literally, it's the only night in months other than Shabbos night and mostly Shabbos. But Sunday through and including Thursday, I'm there hours every single night. Very busy over there with all the people, all my chavrusos. Anyways, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so this is the Otzer Halachos, and now this will segue us to the Shal Jewish Or Letzion, who you just quoted on this halacha. The Or Letzion is the Sephardi Rabbi Abba Shaul ben Zion. Abba Shaul. Shaila is Misha Nimna Mela'echol Ma'acholam Harbe L'Shem Shmiras Mishkal Diet. Ha'im Mutter Loi Lihimana Ma'achila Gam Shabbos. Someone who isn't eating food, a lot of food, because he's on a diet. Is it permissible for him to refrain from eating also on Shabbos? Ein lihimana ma'achilas ma'achalim b'Shabbos mitayme shmiras mishkal v'kedayme. So a person is not allowed to refrain from eating food on Shabbos because he is dieting. V'yesh b'zeh mishum bittul oneg Shabbos, and this is considered nullifying the pleasure of Shabbos. Umikol makom misha hachila mazikalo. Nevertheless, someone who eating damages him. Nevertheless, someone who eating damages him, he is allowed to refrain from excessive eating. Similarly, someone who only eats food that is teviim would probably be natural. I'm actually looking up the word right now in Google Translate on my phone, just to make sure that we're getting the accurate definitions over here.
Oh, probably like a vegetarian,
It says natural.
but he probably means like a vegetarian or a vegan.
It could be. Google translates it as natural. Samchunim I'm referring to as like plant-like food,
Ooh.
such as lettuce. Oh no, the samchunim they teach as vegetarian or vegan. Vegan. I'm not sure what's vegan again.
Vegan is like, I guess, nothing like eggs or
No animal, nothing that is derivative from an animal.
Including eggs?
you can it's all based on the person's like, shita, but it could be go as far as like, honey,
Okay.
but anything that is derivative from the animals. But
Okay, so it's saying someone who only eats these types of foods is allowed to also do this on Shabbos. Rasha linho kain gam b'Shabbos v'ino chayiv lechol dafka basar v'dagim. That's very important. So it's a whole shaila, by the way, being a vegetarian, if it's even permissible. Some say that it depends why you're doing it. If you're doing it because you just don't like the taste of the meat or whatever it is, then it's permissible. However, if you're doing it because you hold like it's a strong opinion that you have based on you don't believe in like that you should be eating animals, then that
well,
halachically,
that's vegan.
right. So that's halachically quite very questionable if that's even permissible at all, because we know that Hashem gave us these animals to eat. So, anyways, that's another discussion.
You ever see that?
Is
You
it
ever see that PETA? People eat
Peter?
tasty animals.
The what?
People eat tasty animals.
People what?
There's a what people the ethical treatment of animals, and there's a bumper sticker that says people eat tasty animals.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, so in the footnote he says it says in Shulchan Aruch and Simon Reish Pei Ches Siv Beis, someone who eating damages him, he's able not to eat because that's his only Shabbos. So that's specifically someone who the food damages him, explains the Or Letzion. However, if it doesn't damage you, so then you should not refrain from eating on Shabbos because of other reasons. And similarly, you're obligated to eat bread, the amount of a kabetza. More than a kabetza, you are not obligated to eat. If you are makbid not to eat a lot. And he says you should eat other food. So in other words, one more time, if it doesn't damage you, so then you shouldn't refrain from owning Shabbos. You should eat. You should eat preferably bread the size of a kavetza, more than that you wouldn't be obligated. I just want to stop over here and say something. Just some of my own words. Sometimes you see people, they're saying they're on a diet, they're not gonna have hamotzi, they're not gonna have lecha mishnah. I've got a simple answer to those people. A kabetza of bread never made anyone fat. Just keep it as that. Kabetza is like a half of a slice of bread. Like, it's not going to make or break it. It's all about moderation. Eat everything else in moderation, and you'll stay in a good size. That's all.
Right, so the shaila is how far do we say that a diet is not good on Shabbos? Like, if a person has, if he doesn't want dessert, let's say, right? Like he wants dessert, but he knows he shouldn't have, so I'd can't. Where does it end?
My recommendation, and this is what I've told many people, and including people who they go to the nutritionist and they go to this and that, eat whatever you want. This is my diet. This is you could call the Atkins diet. This is called the blonde diet, right? The blonde diet. Eat whatever you want, but in moderation. Normal quantities. Not the American portions. Eat the European portions. Normal quantities.
No,
That's
but no, I understood. But let's say
Let's bring that back to the dessert, Shiloh.
right.
Okay. So to specify, so for the dessert, just take a spoonful of dessert and then put it aside. So then on the one hand, you're still keeping your diet, but on the other hand, you're still having your own Shabbos. In other words, it's about the quality, not the quantity.
Ari.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, all right. I was gonna get into it.
Are you joining? What's going on?
About time.
What's the guy doing over here?
Well, I'm gonna get into the gym.
Al kupunim. So anyways, so that is the Indian with the diet business. Whatever you want, it's got to be normal amount. It's got to be moderation. So then on the one hand, you won't be officially dieting on Shabbos, but on the other hand, you'll still make sure that you're kind of on that diet page, but you're eating also, you're still having the geschmack. I say a few points on this. I saw in the biography of Rabbi Gustman, such a small amount of food he would survive on. And I don't know how much you read about this, but I just read whatever they put on Yeshiva World News, pretty much. And they talk about these hostages, and all they eat is a slice of bread every single day, some of them with like one olive,
Wow.
Now, obviously, there's malnutrition there and everything, but really to survive, technically, you don't eat as much as people think, you really don't. Slice of bread in the morning, a slice of bread at night, and a couple of other things, you really don't need that much. And in fact, many times the body works better when it's not overfed. The Rambam says that most sicknesses come because of overeating. That's what the Rambam writes in Hilchos Deos. If I'm not mistaken, Perek Dalet, he writes it over there. Or the end of Perek Gimel, maybe. I think it's Perek Dalet. That's where he talks about a lot of these halachos. That's what he says. And it's something to keep in mind. Additionally, I'm going to add in an idea that Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says. He says, why specifically on Pesach do we have 4 cups of wine? We have Pesach coming up in a couple months. Why do we have 4 cups of wine as opposed to 4 of anything else? So he basically says a very important idea when it comes to food, which many people are into nowadays, which is that when a person eats, so the best and the most flavorful taste is on the first bite. After the first bite, so then the flavor is already in your mouth. It's just adding on the flavor. It feels good, but nothing like the first. And in fact, anyone knows who's ever been to a very good meal that once a person eats too much, even though the food was so good, it doesn't even feel so good because he ate too much. His body didn't want him to eat that much. As opposed to when a person drinks yayin, so as the cups keep coming, it gets better, so to say. Typically, if a person obviously is gonna have too much and end up in the hospital, for sure not. But that's why it was dalit kosos. That's basically what he wants to say. That's the idea. Let's just finish this, and then I want to say maybe one more thing that I just learned about last night. Misha ragil la'echel ma'acholim simchoinim bilvad. Someone who's only having the vegetarian or the vegan food alone. Kivan she'inim iskavin there's anos mebasa v'yayin. Since he's not having the intention to fast, so to say, from meat and wine, Rashai la'sos kain gam Shabbos. He's allowed to do this on Shabbos. Huadin l'misha inu misanig mebasa v'yayin. Also, someone doesn't get an enjoyment, a pleasure from meat and wine. She'ino chai behem. He's not obligated with them. Rashai le'echol ma'achol ma'chim. And he is allowed to eat other food.
I'm just curious, I'm curious, something what does a vegan eat on Shabbos?
I don't know because I am not.
No egg challah, no fish,
They
no.
sell water challah in the bakeries and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's a water challah.
I have no clue. I don't know. Tofu stuff and things. I don't know.
Oh.
Anyways, but this is an important point. If you don't like meat and wine, you don't have to have. You could eat other food. So that's an important point. But just to share the other point, there are a few ideas on what it means to the pasuk says that the Jews were tested with the man. Lamana and Isayu, I think is the language of the pasuk. So the question is, what exactly is the test? So
Today's given with Shalach.
what? He has a teretz?
All right, what are?
No, I say today's given with Shalach. It's good to say the Pasha Saman.
He's just saying.
Yeah, but we're asking a kash on the mon. What was the test of the mon?
I don't know.
The test of the one, but the tzaddikim gathered by the door, and the Rishon had to go a long way to search for man.
How is that a test?
They have to go a long way, Ari says. I don't know.
That's a fact, but what was the test? The pasuk says that it was a test. What was the nisayon? Vashteit nisayon. So there's a few mahalchim over here. One mahalach is like
they
this.
They didn't put away for later. They ate right away everything.
They were allowed to eat it right away when it came to the door.
But they didn't put away.
Who said they were supposed to put away? As soon as it came to the door, they're allowed to eat it.
I chimed into this share.
He's talking to the shit?
He's talking to the share right now.
I don't understand. They didn't need to put it away. As soon as they got it, they were allowed to eat it. Adrabah, if you
Messing
put
with
it
the money.
away, then that was a
Alright.
problem.
the one.
You're not allowed to save
Um,
it for later.
Ivan is do the
Was?
for the sheikh, the post office act p19.
Post
En dan
office?
heb je staat nog
Versteht? Al kopunim. So the hesber is like this. One shot that they say is like this. You know, Dava, put yourself off of mute. Man up. Let's go. I want to hear what's going on over there. What's going on over here? You got to bring Tyre to Buddha Park also. Take that off of mute. What's going on? So one shot is like this. One shot is look. When people are busy working, you know, they're working. They're doing a mitzvah.
Went to 9.
Great. They're doing
9.
mitzvahs.
you can do finish the sheikh. You do it in 10 minutes also.
Yeah.
But I want to get the garbage and I'll bring the sheikh on the fit.
So kupunim, so when people are working, you know, they're doing mitzvahs. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Sorry about that.
For themselves, for other people. You need pornusa. Okay. So now, what's happening over here?
So I was saying then the
So-
manager walked in. He didn't know the
so-
shoe was going.
Oh, good. So the point is that what? So you need parnusa. You need parnasa. So you're doing a mitzvah. You're busy. You're preoccupied. You're not gonna be able to sin if you're working. You're bound other people. You know, you're working. You're doing a mitzvah. Question is, what do you do all day when you don't have to work? When everything is spoon-fed to you, you have them on, you have food. You have everything that you need. You have food, you have your clothing taken care of, you have that on your cover that's protecting you. You don't need to worry about war. You don't even have a house, so there's nothing to clean. You're living in a desert. Everything is totally taken care of. What are you gonna do all day in a desert? So the Mishnah in Ksuba says that Habatal is maybe the Shimum. It brings to a bad mental state. Brings to a bad mental state. So are you going to be learning Torah, keeping the mitzvahs properly or not? The Gemara in Yuman Lamed Hey says that whether a person is poor, wealthy, or he was a Rasha and his Yetzer Hara is getting the best of him, he's going to be held accountable at the end of his life. And he's going to be asked, why didn't you learn Torah? And the Gemara over there is going to bring proofs. Were you poorer than Hillel, who went up to the skylight of the base medrash to try to hear Divrei Elokim Shmai Vev Talim? He went all the way up the skylight. He couldn't afford the small amount that back then was required to get into the base medrash. So if Hillel was able to do it, you're able to do it. Then the Gemara is going to say, were you wealthier than Rabbi Eliezer ben Charsum, who had tremendous amount of wealth, and he ran away from all of it so that they wouldn't bother him and ask him all these questions on the portfolios of real estate and all sorts of other businesses that he had, and he just ran away from it so he wouldn't have to be preoccupied with the businesses which take a tremendous amount of time and energy out of a person? Or is he going to learn Torah? Also, Yosef Atzadik, who didn't go after his Yetzer Hara. That's what the Gemara Nida and Dav Ayin says. What should a person do? What should a person do to become wise? So the Gemara basically says, you know, daven. Daven and you should also work less. Because if a person's overworked, he's not going to have as much time to learn. So that's one test of the mon. That's the pashtus. That's what Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky says. Another explanation, the Chedushi Arim says, is that, and he goes into all these interesting details. The mon, right, it would taste like anything that you would think of. So the question is, let's say you thought of something that was bad for your health. Would you still have that taste, but it wouldn't hurt you, or would it hurt you? Let's say you thought of something that wasn't kosher, pig. Was it allowed to taste like that? Or no, it's not allowed. Because intrinsically it wasn't something that was prohibited. So another question is, which this is another idea that he discusses, which, you know, everyone nowadays, they're always thinking about, oh, the food, the this, the that. They tried this type of salad, that type of salad, with all of the ingredients and all of the details, and they're talking about it. The idea is, the test is our mind always going to be on the gashmias, always going to be on the food? Or do we realize that the food is only a means to an end? That's an idea also. realizing that it's only a means to an end. That's a very important concept as well. So that's basically what he discussed over there, and that's the idea with this whole diet business. That's what this reminded me of. You know, people that are so into the things. One mother wrote, grandmother rather, wrote recently that she went to Eretz Israel to see her kid in seminary, her girl, and she got there, and basically what she talks about is that she took out her friends to a restaurant, and they were talking about the restaurant the whole time, and whatever, and then after the restaurant, they talk about the next restaurant, you have to go to this restaurant. The whole time, all that's on their mind is the food. Talked about other problems also. Now, obviously, it's might have been a specific type of seminary or whatever, and there's all different types because maybe the girls from that seminary came from a public school type of background or something. I don't know, but the point is that it cost tens of thousands of dollars to send to seminary. I think the official price is closer to 30. It's expensive, and then the whole time, and this is already past the halfway mark in the year. All that you could think about is food. That's not why a person goes to Eretz Israel for a year, just to think and eat about food and try this and then try that. It's about growing spiritually. That's what it's about. So that's the idea with the man, talking about food and everything. So what else about the man? There's a lot to say about it, but there's the question that the Chafetz Chaim asked. What did the man taste like if you didn't think that it should taste like anything? So I
As that
thought,
honey, it says in the Torah what it tastes like.
yeah.
Ari has something to say.
I have something else to say about the man.
Alright, so what do you-
I think they say if
Yes, if you didn't have the taste,
Yeah, then what?
it says stomach it's a pichis b'dvor.
Right, that's what I
Okay.
said.
So the question is like this. I think they say if you say pitum ketiris, it's a segula for punusu. And also, if you say the parsha saman, it's a segula for parnusu, right? Parnusu. Kupunim. So the word is like this, yeah. You know what else is segula for parnusu? The best segula is get educated, research, get educated, work hard. That's the best segula. That's the best thing. At the end of the day, you could say whatever you want, however many times you want it. You could have all the high liga kavanas in the world, but at the end of the day, that's then they asked the Stipler. You got sanduks thousands of times, which is a segula for Ashiras. So they said, "How come you're not wealthy?" He said, "I'm not wealthy. Look at my son, Reb Chaim. That's Ashiras, right? That's Ashiras. That's true wealth. So something to think of, put into perspective. Okay, Pashut Pshat, wealth is someone who has tremendous amount of assets and money and everything. But anyways, all right. So Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow will be Mamshech. It looks like we're gonna get kicked out of this meeting in less than 1 minute. So,
Shkach.
yeah, everyone should have a wonderful day.
All right, have a pleasant day.
Take care,
All right,
Scott.